This is a genuine Porsche. You can tell from first glance, and yet it's different somehow. It's called the Taycan Turbo S. Its drive doesn't need a turbo because it's purely electric.
A
fully electric Porsche is by no means a new idea, explains Emmanuel. As early as 1898, Ferdinand Porsche launched the Eger Lohner C2 Phaeton, the first electric Porsche. Shortly thereafter, this was developed as a hybrid. Back to the first electric Porsche. It had about 3 to 5 horsepower and a top speed of 25 kilometers per hour. At over 2 tons, it was very heavy. The reason why Ferdinand Porsche turned away from electric mobility. For a long time, the concept of e-mobility was abandoned. It was only over 100 years later, with the development of lithium-ion batteries suitable for cars, that electromobility staged a return. Now, let's have a look at what electromobility has to offer, namely the Porsche Taycan Turbo S.
Mobilität heute bieten kann, nämlich der Porsche Taycan Turbo S.
The Turbo S is the top model and has a maximum output of 560 kilowatts, accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 2.8 seconds. Emmanuel thinks the Taycan Turbo S is like a roller coaster. It has 1,050 Newton meters of torque. Hardly any other car has that much. If you step on the accelerator, you get pushed backwards. The engine noise is missing. Also, like on a roller coaster. There is some wind noise, but it's barely noticeable. After all, it's a Porsche. It's supposed to offer a bit of luxury and comfort, even though it's a sports car. Porsche offers an optional sound generator for the Taycan. This does not simply imitate the sound of a combustion engine. It's fused with the sounds of the electric motors. It can be heard from the interior and the outside.
The
Taycan has 2 electric motors, says Emmanuel, one at front and one at the rear, so it's essentially a 4-wheel drive vehicle. There are exceptions when it's only front-wheel driven, but in most cases, both motors run simultaneously. This switching on and off of the motors happens in milliseconds. The driver doesn't even notice, but benefits from the improved driving characteristics. The design is classic Porsche, made to be enjoyed. Emmanuel thinks the Taycan is the car of the future. You notice it in the electric motors, but also in other ways. The Porsche engineers didn't just rest on their laurels. For example, this passenger display is for navigation, media, and so on. Of course, the passenger doesn't have access to driving relevant settings. That's reserved for the driver, or here on the center display. Emmanuel also thinks it's a good idea that in the future one could watch videos here, for example. Of course, you'll have to apply a film to the display to make sure that the driver doesn't see anything when he looks at it. Otherwise, it would be too distracting. For Emmanuel, the good thing about the Taycan is that it has 2 charging sockets, one on each side. But you can't charge to the maximum with both, so you'd have to drive the other way around to the charging station. He likes this detail. You can open the flap with a swiping movement, electrically opened, and connect the cable here. Closing is exactly the same. He thinks it's a very nice, very well thought out detail. Porsche estimates the Taycan range to be between 380 and 407 kilometers. The maximum speed is limited to 260 kilometers per hour. As part of Porsche's top-down strategy, less powerful Taycan versions will follow. The Taycan 4S with 320 kilowatts is currently the entry-level model. Emmanuel's conclusion about the Porsche Taycan Turbo S, a wild ride that takes electromobility to a whole new level. But one thing is clear. Most of us probably don't have deep enough pockets and can only dream of owning one due to its entry-level price of 185,000 euros. And if you do have that much petty cash lying around, you could probably invest it more sensibly elsewhere.
Durchaus sinnvoller investieren.